we're relying on Hamas to tell us who's alive and who's not, throwing bodies out of the window.
In body bags, white body bags. Yep.
Burying them under the rubble, and then filming as they uncover them from the rubble. Do you think Red Cross and all these organizations have been legitimate this entire war? These are Israeli citizens, okay? This apartheid thing, this dispels the apartheid.
The children of Gaza are every bit as victims as anybody else in this entire conflict. Where you put hate ideology inside the brain of a child, you are abusing that child.
Right.
It's child abuse.
Attorney Michael Dye, welcome back.
Thanks, Danny.
Attorney Lloyd Golburgh, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome to Two Taps and Friends. Grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive into another episode of Two Taps and Friends.
Welcome back to Two Taps and Friends. I'm Danny Rosenberg, host of your show, and I have my esteemed panel today is Attorney Michael Dye. Welcome back.
Thanks, Danny.
Attorney Lloyd Golburgh, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Brought them all back because we're talking Israel again today. Obviously, there's a lot's happened. I think Brian and I came on and we talked about hostages returning home, but it's the first time I have Michael and Lloyd on here kind of to give a progress report on what's going on. So where we stand right now is, there's a tentative peace, I would call it, right, Lloyd? Don't you think it's a safe thing to say?
Yeah, fragile one.
Right, and obviously, you have to keep in mind that Hamas is a terrorist group. This is not a legitimate government that's giving, you're talking peace that has an interest, really. And they have to remove themselves from power. They have to disarm. That's always been, if you ask me, the sticking point. I think the biggest issue here is you're going to ask these people that they've spent their entire lives arming into this fight and to destroy Israel. All of a sudden, overnight, they are okay and they want peace. But as far as hostages, we did get, for what we know as alive hostages, home.
Yep.
We're supposed to be getting bodies back. They're stalling on that. Obviously, yep. I think the big issue, and you tell me what you think in a minute here, Lloyd. I think the big issue is that people underestimated the fact, or just discounted the fact, that Palestinian citizens were taking people, and that these little militias and group, you call them militias like it's organized, citizens. There are people with flip-flops that came over the border, were raping and burning people, and they grabbed people and they took them. So Hamas
some numbers 3,000, some estimates are 4,000 civilians came across after the initial phase, which was Hamas. The initial phase was Hamas, and and the reports now are that after that first wave, you had thousands of everyday Gazans pour across the border and commit all kinds of atrocities.
Right, and Hamas said themselves, hey, we can't find some of these people. How many times did they say that in negotiations? Just tells you they couldn't find these people. So I think that, gathering these people is a problem. And then we're talking about bodies. Nobody really talks about, I don't know if other countries do this. Can you remember, have we negotiate for our bodies as Americans? Have we gone back to
I think we go back and we'll fight for them. I don't think we really negotiate.
Is it the Jews, do you understand in the Jewish religion the significance of the body?
Yes.
Right? You have to, for the viewers and listeners to understand, there's a Magen David Adom is an agency in Israel. It just means Star of David of red. They're in charge of collecting blood. When there's a terrorist attack or anything, they have to literally, the Jewish religion believes that the whole entire, or the most that you can of the body needs to be buried together. So they literally collect blood. So Israel negotiates for bodies as if they're negotiating for a live person. So I think that they've been negotiating. So that's the problem. Do you know how many bodies we've gotten back so far and how many we're supposed to get? I don't know the exact number, but we're short about 10 or 13 right now. And what came to me, and tell me what you think, this is what dawned on me, what scared me a little bit, is we're relying on Hamas to tell us who's alive and who's not, right? What if this was the case, right? They're giving away, because I never understand, you're giving away all of your insurance by giving away these live hostages. What's your leverage now, right?
Right.
If they were to say that these people are bodies and not alive, say there's 23 bodies, but let's say 10 of them are alive and they're not telling us this, and mysteriously we don't have those 10 bodies, how do we prove these people are dead? And if we can't prove that they're dead, what stops them from using it as leverage against us all the time? Hey, by the way, those 10 people are alive, so if you try to pull shenanigans, you know what I mean? What's your thoughts on that? That kind of freaked me out when I thought of that for a moment, analyzing this. What do you think?
Yeah,
about
I don't
that?
know. In other words, when would they use that trump card, though?
Well, if say Israel now, like for example, they killed soldiers. People are talking about there was a break in ceasefire. You know, they attacked soldiers, right?
Well,
You believe that or disbelieve that?
I believe that.
Okay, so they attacked soldiers. Israel went in and attacked where they attacked. Whatever, you know.
It's a little more complicated than that.
Tell me
but-
what your perception on this is, or what your information is on this.
Okay, when you've got the situation in Gaza where Gaza's essentially been destroyed, one of the first things that they're going to try to do is shut down the communication lines between the different units of Hamas. All right, so
But that's already been done. But yeah,
what?
I mean, that's probably done already for
Yes.
a while, right?
All right, so what happens is a ceasefire has been negotiated, but even once a ceasefire has been negotiated, and there's a good analogous situation that I can talk to you about with this. Even once a ceasefire has been negotiated, you've still got to get the word out to everybody that there is a ceasefire. All right, Israel's probably still jamming radio communications, and what apparently happened was there was this one unit group, I don't know how many people are in it, that had lost communication with the central
Command
authority.
of terrorists.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so one of them, somebody took a sniper shot at an Israeli soldier, and
they killed a
Israel
couple
retaliated. He killed him. I don't know.
Killed three
Two.
soldiers.
There were
Two
two
soldiers.
soldiers.
Killed two
Okay.
soldiers.
Yeah.
So, and Israel retaliated. I mean, fair's fair. all
That's
right?
fair. You agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, you shoot, they get to shoot back.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that, you know, holding it hasn't held up the general terms of the peace agreement. They're
Yeah.
still continuing to negotiate phase 2. So I think even Israel recognizes that, you know, this was just kind of a one-off.
Right.
Because, again, the lack of communication between the different groups. Perfect example of it is, you know, World War II ended in August 1945,
Mhm.
right? Do you know when the last Japanese soldier surrendered?
Oh, it's like 10 years ago. There was one
19
guy who was in the woods.
Yeah,
Remember the one guy in the woods?
1974.
Didn't know
Yeah,
the
that
war
was
was over.
crazy. The
Yeah.
guy was in the
Hero-
woods. He'd
hero-
shoot anyone come near him.
Yeah, Hiro Anita.
Right.
All right, and he
That's a
didn't
crazy story.
surrender, and he killed something like 30 Filipinos because he was in the Philippines. He killed like 30 Filipino soldiers. He was trained in guerrilla warfare. You know, the one guy, he got stranded there with 3 guys with instructions to never surrender.
Yeah, yeah.
And he I'm never surrendering. He said when a Japanese person got to him, he said, the only way I'll believe this war is over is if you have one of my commanders come back here with an order telling me the war's over and to surrender.
Right.
It's like
And-
Brando. It's like
Yeah.
Brando in what's it called? What's the movie?
The
with-
Godfather?
No.
No, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? But dude, let me push back a little bit because you're giving a really you're being very generous to the other side in this, because I don't think it's fair to compare a guy that's in the jungle since 1945 to these people that are in Hamas with cellular phones and Telegram, and I think they all know very well what's going on. I think they're
I
informed.
wouldn't,
I think they
because-
took a pop shot at soldiers. you
Well,
know?
here's the thing. It's easy enough to, I mean, hell, we get people who are charged with it in Florida. A guy was driving down I-4, and he didn't like people on the cell phone driving near him, so he's got a cell phone jammer in his car that's driving down I-4, and he ended up getting
You say
charged with
jamming
that.
the cell phone. you're
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, one of the first things they're going to do is jam communications. I don't think they've probably stopped that. I think the communications are probably still shit. And so to hold an entire organization or entire group responsible for the actions of one person when the communications are questionable, I think even Israel
get
does.
it.
I don't even think Israel buys it because they're still continuing to go through the
Right,
peace.
exactly. So they went
you
in
know.
for the strike. But to answer Lloyd's question, like, how would they use that card? Well, say everything falls apart, Israel just goes scorched earth, right, on them, which now, if there's no live hostages, you lose a lot of that protection that they were using this whole time. That's when you use it. You say, oh, you're going scorched earth? You put out a video now with 10 live hostages, and we're back to square one, right? You don't think that that's something that can be done?
No, I mean, of course we're speculating,
Sure,
right?
it's obviously, it's all speculation.
But if we use the information that we already have, right, you can sort of put together a profile. In other words, if you take the position that everything Hamas is doing right now is simply a stall tactic, right?
Right.
We don't know where the bodies are. Oh, yes, we do. We, you know, that
Right.
kind of thing. So it's again, like we've talked about this on the show before, buying time. So I suppose that would be a very good strategy if you're
Right.
Hamas to say, okay, you know, let's pretend that we've returned all of the living, and then we'll trickle back the dead, buy more time, and then when we're out of that
Exactly.
leverage, then we can play this card.
Right.
I think it certainly would
I mean, it doesn't even need to be true.
would make
because-
right. It would make sense to do that. I see.
Yeah, with
I can see
Hamas,
that.
nothing needs to be true. We've seen the last 3
Right.
years. Like nothing needs to be true.
Well, certain things can
We would
be
need proof of life at that
true
point.
and still, certain things can be true and still just inconvenient. I mean, even if Hamas knows generally where the bodies are, all right, cutting 2 points on this, all right. I'm sure a lot of hostages were killed with the airstrikes, and because
I'm not so sure.
I'm pretty certain that there were not a lot, meaning there weren't that many hostages to begin with. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. All right. But at the same time, if there were any hostages that were killed in those airstrikes and they're buried beneath an apartment building, Hamas could know exactly where they are, and it's still going to take them a couple months to get to them.
That I agree with.
All right.
What do you say about what Lloyd and I have been seeing? I don't know if you've seen these videos. There's literally, Lloyd sent me, I think Red Cross was there.
It was
playing
terrible.
along with it, right?
Yep.
So what they're doing, and for the listeners and viewers, there's videos of these people, Hamas or Palestinians, whatever it is, throwing bodies out of the window,
In body bags,
in
white
body bags,
Yep.
burying them under the rubble, and then filming as they uncover them from the rubble. This
Right.
is caught on
Right.
camera.
Yeah,
This is on camera. I have this video
It's
where
not fucking AI.
what you
all right?
what you see is, you have your scene of destruction, and then there's an intact building, and you see the body come out the second floor of the building and land on the ground, and then they some guys bury the body, and then they bring in a backhoe, to uncover the earth and in front of the Red Cross now, so they could say, hey, look, we found one.
Right.
So to me, they know exactly where they all are, and I believe the Red Cross is complicit too.
They clearly have been complicit.
sure.
They didn't even give us signs of life. They gave us nothing. We had to watch videos on Telegram,
Yeah.
which was absurd.
well,
So,
and here's the thing with that.
what do you
is-
think? Hold on. Let me ask you
Okay.
that real quick, not to table you. Do you think Red Cross and all these organizations have been legitimate this entire war? When it comes to this conflict. And I'm sorry, but you can't help but notice that all of their contingency out there are Arab Muslims.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm going to say, and because I don't want to shit on the Red Cross as an organization,
I agree.
but at the same
well,
time,
actually, no, I don't agree anymore, but go ahead.
they use the resources in the areas they have.
Agreed, but that's problematic.
Yeah, that's problematic in a situation like this because you're not getting necessarily unbiased information.
Right.
So it's if they took people from the American Red Cross and sent them over there, and then you'd probably get more unbiased information. But they're using the resources they have at the location where they are. So I think they're. I'm not saying that it's a bad organization. I'm just saying that for this particular purpose, the way the relief effort is structured is going to lead to a little bit more of a slanted viewpoint, slanted.
I'd like to touch upon that because I take issue with the word slightly slanted view here.
Right.
The mission of the International Committee of the Red Cross has a distinct mission focused on protecting the lives and dignity of victims of armed conflict and other violence, right? So that mission statement doesn't discriminate, does it?
Nope.
Of course not. Yet we know that for the 2 years that Israeli hostages were, wasting away in Hamas tunnels, the International Red Cross didn't one time make contact with them.
Were they allowed access? It's hard.
Yeah,
it's
but-
hard
but-
to get
well-
access to somebody when somebody's pointing a gun at you and says, and even if they say that you're allowed access, they're like, okay, come on. Come on,
Well,
let's
right,
go.
exactly,
You know?
exactly. But
They're like,
there-
"Fuck
there-
you,
sure,
Habib."
of course. I've considered that Hamas might say, well, International Red Cross, you're not, we're not going to let you in.
Right.
But then, as an organization who has that international mission and the profile that they have, you would think that they would get on TV then,
Exactly.
right, in public, and say, hey, listen, we're
We're
independent. We don't pick sides, and we want to see these people so that we can make sure that that they're at least in decent condition, and then we leave.
Right.
You
Or-
get on TV and you do that. The
I
Red Cross-
Or
understand.
we've tried and they're not allowing us
Exactly.
access.
I understand that position, but at the same time, if they go on TV and take a position like that, then they run the risk of the rest of their mission getting shut down.
But their mission, what rest of it? They clearly now have access to return the hostages. They have access to this burial bullshit that we're seeing. They have access to everything. Just
Okay,
like
but that doesn't mean
the
they had it
press
last
that
week.
all these people are Hamas agents that are working for Red Cross. I'm going to say it. Like most of them are probably working and collaborating, if not are in Hamas. The press people, because you get a press, the UN, all of this is happening out of these people's buildings and with their uniforms, and it's a major problem. And to pretend like but it goes back to like just pretending like this is real stuff is tough to say. I want to pivot a little bit onto.
Can I make one
go
more
ahead.
quick
Sure.
point?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to
And,
cut you off.
and one of the things that you brought up in the beginning of this was that there were, what'd you say, 3,500 civilians that came running across the border.
Estimates are between
Taking
3
people
and
back.
6. 3 and 5.
And the response from Israel was pretty immediate. All right. So, holding again Hamas as a group, and I'm not pro Hamas at all, but I mean, holding one group responsible for, the actions of 3,500 people who just happened to run across the border. Yeah, I mean, how are they supposed to know which of those civilians actually took a hostage?
Well,
All
but
right.
how about the ones that filmed themselves raping and burning people?
So I've never seen any of the videos.
You've not seen the videos.
No, I don't
Well,
watch. I don't watch gore stuff.
I know, but listen, I have a lot of respect for you, and I know you do your research. You got to watch those videos because you're not going to have
No.
a full perspective of this. You realize the barbarity of these people that they're claiming is like some legitimate organization. These people came across, killed people in front of their kids, burned mothers and children. I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh, no.
This is all video. And then to come out and sit and force Israel to sit across the table with them and negotiate with them as if there's some kind of like legitimate thing.
But here, the point I was making is that if Danny runs across the street
I
and
get the point.
kidnaps somebody, are they going to say, well, the Israeli government's responsible for, Danny?
Right, but here's the problem. It's just a little bit different, the dynamic there. The Israeli government, you're saying government, as if these are the people of Gaza overwhelmingly are anti-Semitic and want to watch Israel burn. This is with full support. They're not like here or innocent. And I'm not saying all Palestinians are, but I'm saying as a culture and Palestinians
I think there is
that
a big
aren't
disconnect.
will admit.
I think there's a disconnect
Right?
between the reality, which is that this is a culture. This is,
Yes.
Hamas is not individual from the people.
Right.
Well, here's the thing.
And let me just finish. And I'm not saying, I'm not talking about the cause of it or how it became that way, but I think that it's naive to take this position that there's a separation between the people in Gaza, most of the people in Gaza. Of course, there are innocent people, but the majority of the people in Gaza support what Hamas did, support Hamas now, would vote for Hamas today if there was an election between Fatah and Hamas. I think a poll just came out. The number was upwards of 60% of Gazans would still vote for Hamas today if there was an election. I think it's naive to separate those two. And then there's the double standard. So, okay, let's say, for example, we take your position, which is, hey, listen, this is Hamas. You got to go after Hamas. You can't, have the collateral damage that at least the public believes that there is. The numbers are don't tell that story. But in any event, if we take the story in the light most favorable to your position, then that's a double standard because everybody holds every Jew all around the world responsible for what's happening in Israel right now. So you see people, Jews being attacked in New York City and in LA and in Boston and in Maryland and in almost every country in Europe, right? Might be people that have nothing to do with Israel, but because they're wearing a kippah, they're being attacked. So to on the one hand say, well, you can't, impose collective punishment on the entire society when it comes to Gazan civilians, well, then you have to have the same position when it comes to Jews all over the world outside of Israel.
And I have that same position.
You do.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
But
But
here's
you're,
my point
you're
was,
fair and objective. That's
Right.
that's different.
my point was
Debatable.
that you can't, we'll use a legal term, you can't impute knowledge to
No, I
the
can't.
organization
No.
from regular individuals. Like if these people just said, hey, I'm going to run across the border and grab myself a Jew and pull him back, how does Hamas know that they did it?
What if I told you that they were rewarded for doing that?
Well, show me the payment that says Hamas
You think
knows.
that that's hard for us to do?
No, probably not. But if you show
Pay
me,
for slay. You've heard of pay for slay?
so no.
You
But
don't know what pay for slay
Here's
is?
I kind of makes sense. I know
They do it in the
pay
West
for
Bank,
slay.
not even Gaza. The
Yeah.
West Bank.
You are.
But
aware
all
of
I'm
pay for
saying
slay.
is
Because-
that you can't impute the knowledge, all right? Unless you have direct proof or circumstantial. I
it.
don't care. But whether it's direct or circumstantial, unless you have the proof showing that Hamas knows, you just can't say, well, Hamas knows where they all are when,
But
you're-
I think that they agree that it's a loose and kind of a chaotic situation. That's why Israel's being patient. Israel and the United States are being patient, right? Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, there's no leverage for them anymore. What the popular opinion of idiots that come on here, like Anna Kasparian, this fucking idiot, and all these people that know absolutely nothing, never been to the region, don't know anything, and are sitting here commenting. That's not leverage. That's not
No.
leverage against Israel. So like, Israel is being patient, right? But just to shift real quick, now what we see, just understand how like traumatic this is a little bit for Israelis. You see Turkey on the ground in there now. You see these Arab nations that are on the ground. And they're on the ground in Gaza. They're part of this force.
didn't know that.
And look,
Good.
it is if you trust Turkey, right? Do you know anything about Erdogan? You know that the leader of that country?
Well, here's what I can tell you about Turkey. Turkey's military is just militantly secular. All right, their government is a little bit more extremist.
Agreed.
They're-
Turkey had
the-
great relations with Israel before Erdogan.
Okay, Turkey's military has always been the one that kept it from tipping over to crazy. All right, their military, there shouldn't
How do
be.
you say? Why are you saying that?
All right.
The government itself?
The government
I'm
itself.
saying their military has kept their government from
Yes.
tipping over to crazy?
Yes,
You mean they defy what their orders are?
yes.
Okay.
And there've been lots of circumstances of that over time. Their military is just completely secular, and they don't allow the crazies to take over.
But I'll tell you this: if the U.S. wasn't involved and Israel saw Arab boots on the ground that close, it would make them very nervous, and I'm sure it makes them very nervous.
I don't think the Turks make them nervous.
Anybody it's like putting a potential combatant in the middle of Alabama, right? Like you're like, okay, well, they can just walk over now. I mean, I don't know. It just makes you're kind of relying on this all being done in good faith, and you kind of have to do it. But I think that the propaganda and that's been spewed to those people in the community, in the Gazan community, in the Palestinian community around the world now, I think that's going to be the major. Like, we have to address the anti-Semitism and the cultural problem that exists there. And it has to be addressed, because I hear these people on TV, they're talking about, oh, just because they're Palestinian, they're terrorists. You think they're all terrorists? And listen, it might sound bad when it's said, but if you understand the way the culture is raised, the way the kids are raised, you cannot discount that. That has to be flushed out. We did denazification in Germany. How long did that take? Before the first German kid did
that's
think
the
of
problem.
Jews
You have
as superior,
fundamentally
it's
it's ingrained in their education. Jew hate is ingrained in their education.
right.
And their education it's administered mostly by UNRWA, right? And so, we know who UNRWA is, and we know that, Hamas and UNRWA are interchangeable, and that's where the education comes in their schools. Instead of Big Bird teaching 2 + 2 is 4, Big Bird teaches if you kill 2 Jews and then you kill 2 more Jews, then you've killed 4 Jews.
Right.
That's their education system, right? So that's why I sort of chuckle sometimes when people say, "Oh my God, Israel killed children." And, and then you look at the pictures and they're like 17-year-olds with AK-47s, those children, right? So, you have to, all of that has to be taken into context. How did we get here? And that's how we got here. We got here because the entire culture within Gaza is ingrained with this ideology. So that's why I say that the children of Gaza are every bit as victims as anybody else in this entire conflict, because, it's like anything else. When you put a gun or you put hate ideology inside the brain of a child, you are abusing that child.
Right.
It's child abuse.
So,
Well, I mean,
but-
just much like the Red Cross, UNRWA uses the resources that are
Right,
available
agreed.
to them in the region.
Right.
All right. And so it's, I don't like to just shit on an organization as a whole. I just think that the structure of the way the Red Cross is doing things and the way the UNRWA is doing things might need revamped. All
Well, but
right?
it's different.
Agreed, but
Yes, that's
it's
true.
not
But
just
you
UNRWA.
can't compare those two organizations, though, because one is an international organization, that has the mission that we just discussed, and the other one is created
a
and
regional
maintained
organization, right?
for the specific purpose to perpetuate the idea of the refugee status. That's what UNRWA is for,
Right.
right? So, that's the problem. That's why the UNRWA and the Palestinian culture is interchangeable, because they feed off each other.
Right. So like for the short term, like this is I segue to long term, but short term, so we have an uneasy peace agreement that you have the body shenanigan. They're playing their shenanigans and their propaganda. But as far as long term goes, and when you see Turkey on the ground, you see this stuff, that's great. I do believe that a lot of the Arab countries are moving forward, especially the Gulf states. Like
Yeah, there's not a lot of
except for
information
Qatar,
coming out
but
right now. And I
UAE
think that, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it anyway. I think that part of the reason why we're not hearing a lot now, there's not a lot of chatter, there's not a lot of activity, and I think that's part of the holdup, is because there are certain countries, groups that are wanting to be involved in this process, and Israel has a problem with that. Turkey,
Right.
for example, having
It's just
their troops on the ground or their people on the ground, because the whole idea is, how do we trust these people?
Well,
right.
I mean,
Erdogan has declared publicly that he is an enemy of the Jewish state. So
right.
I've always thought that Turkey should have taken a bigger role in our Middle East policy. They seem to have sat on the sidelines while we've had 60, 70 years of fucked up Middle East policy, and Turkey just sits there and does
Well, they
nothing.
perpetuate it.
So, well,
They're not innocent.
they're not doing anything to
well,
fix
you
the
know
problem.
why? You know
is what
why?
I'm trying to say.
Because they didn't
They don't wanna
care. And,
fix the problem.
and what I mean by they didn't care is, what I mean is that Jerusalem, right, and the sort of the maybe middle to southern part of what people know as Palestine wasn't included, right, in the initial mandate. In other words, I'm not talking about the British mandate. I'm talking about what the Arabs wanted in the beginning,
Mhm.
right? And Jerusalem wasn't even part of it in the beginning. So that's why I think Turkey, it's been their policy ever since.
Well,
you know?
it's the joke my dad always used to tell me, like, if you get a girl pregnant before you're married, is you break it, you buy it. All right.
Yeah.
And so, I look at the Middle East as primarily a Turkey problem. It was the Ottoman Empire. You broke it, you bought it.
Yeah.
All right. It's your problem to fix.
Yeah.
Now, I understand why Israel would be concerned about facing Turkey in a conventional war. All right. Because,
Turkey
Turkey
has more of a conventional military.
Yeah, Turkey is a bitch as far as the military goes.
Right. Right.
And that's they're not going to roll over for anybody.
Right.
Israel has nukes, so allegedly.
Allegedly.
All right, but
But listen, Israel
they can
has no
borrow
interest.
ours.
Israel has no interest other than defense. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say.
So the thing is, I understand why Israel would be a little bit suspicious of the Turks coming down through Lebanon and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think Turkey's needed. They
well,
need
yeah,
to be
it's
the
a lesser.
stabilizing hand.
Yeah, it's a lesser of two evils. And look, it's nervous. It's just been the declared intention of all the Arab countries to destroy Israel for so long. You have to give Israel some leeway in trying to believe this now, right?
Yeah, but Erdogan doesn't have as much power over the military.
Agreed.
as
I am
people
not
do.
saying all that. What I'm saying is that's one thing. But for long term, what you need for a long term sustained peace, one, you really need legitimate players like UAE and these countries that are really willing to go in there and get their feet dirty and their hands dirty and do what they need to do against some savages in there. And then two, you have to address the anti-Semitism in that region. Like there's a guy, if you follow, I don't know his name on YouTube, I should give him a drop, but he goes around in the West Bank and he interviews Palestinians. And he's a Jewish guy, but he asked them, "Hey, what do you?" And I don't even know what side I think he's more to the left, but he's asking like, "What do you think about Jews and what parts do you think should be Palestine?" And I think 99% of them are saying, "It's all our country, it's all our land." What about, okay, so what should happen? It's our country. And then most of them say, well, what should the Jews do if you give them the country? Where do the Jews go? I don't care anywhere but here, some of them say. And then the rest of them say, we'll kill the Jews, right? That one's a little more hesitant to say that on a camera, you know, but they say it to each other, right?
Well, I mean, there's Israelis that feel the same way.
But listen, that is a very, very, that statement is such an unfair statement because I would say that you might get 0.0009% of the population that would make a statement like that really believe that from the Israeli side. Where I'm saying to you on the Palestinian side, you're going to get 90% of the people saying that. And
I think, and I honestly, Michael, I think that's absolutely fair and accurate. If you took 10 Israelis,
right,
and you sent them to Ramallah, right,
okay,
they'd all come back dead.
Yeah.
If you sent 10 Palestinians, okay, to what would be a majority of Jew, Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv.
Right? Haifa is what, 50-50? So if
yeah.
Let's say Tel Aviv, all 10 are coming back alive.
That's like saying if you sent 10 people from my neighborhood down to Sistrunk Boulevard in the middle of the night, what's going to happen? Because it depends on where you send them.
It's not comparable
because
Jews, Israelis, we don't wake up every day with the ideology in our mind that God commands us to kill them. They wake up every day with the ideology in their brains that Allah has commanded us to kill the infidel. It's fundamental.
Jews
aren't running around the world blowing shit up.
I will give you that the average Jewish person in Israel is not hell-bent on killing
the majority.
The majority. They are not hell-bent on killing all the Palestinians and taking over all the land. But there are Jewish people. Baruch Goldstein.
Okay, but you're talking about criminals and extremists.
This guy was an officer in the Israeli military.
Okay, so what?
Yeah, but
what?
Again,
it's not a general.
It glosses over the reality. You have, of course, you're going to have extremists in every organization, in every society.
And then in his
but they're a society of extremists. Whereas in Israel and Jews everywhere around the world, you have a small percentage that are nut jobs, or criminals, are assholes. Yeah. But for the most part, Jewish people are we're not homicidal.
Even extremists, hold on. Even extremists don't say we're going to kill all of you. They say this is our land. If you can't deal with it, we'll fight all of you. It's a very pull up the demographic, Dan, that I have on this, please. Let me explain. Israel has proved it. The proof is in the pudding.
Okay.
Look at the demographic here. This is Israel, okay?
Okay.
Mixed Jews, black Jews, Mizrahi Jews, Arabs. 21.1% are Arabs. Israel's proved it. You can live in Israel as long as you don't want to murder Jews. You can live in Israel, have full citizenship.
As long as you were there before a certain period of time.
Well, look why. Show some fucking proof that you can live and not want to murder Jews. They were letting Palestinians over from Gaza to work. And what happened? Those same fucking Palestinians gave maps on where to go in these kibbutzes and murdered people in their houses based on where the weaponry is, based on what their jobs were. The proof is in the pudding. Israel is willing to live amongst Jews. Now, is Israel willing to allow 5 million hostile Palestinians to infiltrate Israel? To not infiltrate, even live in Israel and become the majority?
Well,
and absolutely not, because you want to see history. The history will show you what happens when the Muslims become a majority in a country.
And my thing, I'm going back to the thing about sending, the 10 Palestinians to Tel Aviv, the settlement where Baruch Goldstein lived put up a memorial to this guy.
You keep bringing one incident up.
What?
You bring up one incident when I can bring up 9 million.
But there's multiple, Danny.
Maybe 3? What are you
maybe
gonna
3.
name?
I'll get a list.
Get a list.
All right.
I'll get you a list.
so-
I'm gonna need. I don't even know what I'm gonna need for that.
And if you would send 10 Palestinians into Baruch Goldstein's settlement, they would not make it out alive.
I bet you they would.
I bet you.
I bet you they
They
would.
already killed a bunch of them.
I bet you they would. I would bet the house that most of them would come back alive. They might get beat up because they're extremists. Who knows? It's like, but by the way, to the viewers and listeners, if you're able to see this, these are Israeli citizens. Okay, this apartheid thing, this dispels the apartheid. Haifa is the second biggest major city in Israel. It's half Arab Muslim citizens. So when you keep hearing this apartheid, it is absolute utter bullshit. The way that they say, well, the Palestinians don't have equal rights. The Palestinians, the so-called Palestinians, are not Israeli citizens. They're governed by another government. They're governed by the Palestinian Authority. They're governed by Hamas. They have their rights, whatever that they have. That's what they have. What? It's like saying the Canadians don't share rights with the U.S.
Right.
Okay, what? What the hell are you even talking about? Because
exactly
the Arabs,
right.
I know so many Arabs in Israel, they own restaurants, they own very successful business, they have a happy life. You ask them where they want to live. Ask them where they want to live. Ask them, better yet, if they want a Palestinian organization running their government. Even better. Because you could say, all right, well, Gaza's who would want to live in rubble, and who would want to live in an open-air jail, like they say, or who would want to live in the West Bank under, quote, occupation. Okay, how about we let the Palestinians run your government? And I promise you, most of them will say, nah, fuck that. We're good. Because
Well, yeah,
they
they've got it
understand their
good.
culture. Well, got it great, but people are saying it's apartheid, that they're being discriminated against, that they don't have the
for
same
viewers,
rights.
Danny,
Apartheid doesn't mean it's not it's not a demographic breakdown.
But you're also saying that the Baruch Goldstein guys just want to kill Arabs.
yes,
That's not true. Even the most extreme settlers, their belief is that this is all Jewish land. This is our God-given right, whether I agree with that or not, this land.
And if you don't get off
you
of it, we'll kill
oppose
you.
us and you try to kill us, we will kill you, which is very different than
Right,
we
but
need to kill all Jews
Right.
because Allah says so.
Right.
So he didn't go out in a blaze of glory fighting against
Well,
the
he's a
armed
lunatic.
Palestinians.
Okay, but
he
he was a
walked into them
lunatic.
while they were praying and mowed them down with a
Right,
government
but
issue
again,
machine
Well, let
gun.
me ask you a
you're
question
talking
that'll
about-
undress you a little bit. Not that I'm going
Okay.
to do this to you.
My government
Why are
issued
you
machine
so
gun.
obsessed with Baruch Goldstein and not the 900 other incidents? And you've never watched October 7th videos, Mike.
So I don't watch gore.
Oh, but you're fucking studying the shit out of Baruch Goldstein's situation.
I just know that situation very well.
Stop it. It's because listen, I know what it is. You're not anti-Semitic. You're just a cynic and you hyper-analyze things. I understand, but you got to do the full thing.
Okay.
I'm not
My
accusing
point
you of
is-
anything. I love you, bro.
My point is, the violence does go both ways. It might be skewed a little bit.
A little bit?
All right. Maybe a lot. All right.
Dude, they
but-
came here and they attacked us,
Okay,
Mike.
I
Why
understand.
is there an occupation?
But the violence
Let's talk
does
about
go
it.
both
Yeah.
ways.
Why is there an occupation?
Why is
in
there an
West Bank?
occupation?
Okay. Hold on.
Why is there a
We
blocking?
got it.
Because
We're
I'm not
double
done with
teaming.
my
Well,
sentence.
well,
I'm not
and-
done with my sentence.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The violence goes both ways. All right. With Israel, you have an organized military and a functioning government
Because they're civilized.
that can go ahead and, well, they also get a lot of support from the United States.
Okay, you think that's the sole reason?
and they prosecute their criminals.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
go ahead and they have an army that can go ahead and go in and do the violence on their behalf. Whereas with the Palestinians, they don't have an army. They have a semi-functioning quasi-government. All right.
I wouldn't
It's
call
a
it
it's
that.
a big difference. But if you went ahead and you said, okay, I like resolving disputes like how you used to do it on the playground. All right, where it's like, everybody stay out of it. And if we go ahead and we said, all right, all women and children out, all right, put them in a safe area, and we're going to give every man who wants to fight about this 1 gun, 10 bullets, and a knife.
Well, here's,
That's an-
yeah, but here's it now. So it's essentially saying, well, take the most extreme Klansmen from 1963 in fucking Mississippi, okay?
Right.
And saying they
Mhm.
are just as bad. They want to just kill black people and do that and do this. They probably do. But what I'm telling you that over there, the 1963 Klansmen is the fucking Palestinian community. I wouldn't say all of them, but that's what they're taught.
But here's the thing. You're taking one person like the Klansmen.
You're taking one person.
Okay, we're all taking one
You're
person.
taking this Baruch Goldstein motherfucker. That's all you keep talking
Okay,
about.
let's talk about Ariel Sharon. We'll take him.
Oh, now you're going to compare Ariel Sharon to Baruch Goldstein?
Yes, Ariel Sharon's worse.
Oh, stop.
So we go ahead and we say, we take
I'll
the
take Ariel
Klansmen.
Sharon. You can have Anna Kasparian. How about that?
So
When's
I'll
the last time?
take
can have
Anna
Kansas.
Kasparian every day of the
When's the
week.
last
That's not what I
time you
meant.
when's the last time you sat in a synagogue or watched a Jewish service in a synagogue on television and heard the rabbi saying,
Yeah.
"We have to kill everyone who's not Jewish."
Yeah, good point.
I can
ladies and
answer that
gentlemen,
question. I can answer that question
You
for
say
you
Baruch
right here, right
Goldstein,
now.
I'm getting up and
Meyer
walking off
Kahane
the
in
podcast.
1962.
So, I don't speak Hebrew, so I don't listen to any of the
I'll
Orthodox
interpret for
services.
you. We could sit
There's
and
plenty
watch.
of
And I'm
Reformed
supposed
temples
to
in the
trust
United
the
States.
Jewish guy to interpret for me.
Yes, you are. Because character and integrity is
Yeah, I'm
also
like, no,
part
disregard
of our
sentence
I'm
DNA.
number
gonna have
two.
Google Translate right there.
Oh,
Like,
my God. Yeah,
No.
have Google Translate.
So-
I promise you, you won't hear it.
Number two, the last time I was in a synagogue was for my friend Seth's bar mitzvah, and that was a long time ago.
You need to diversify. I invited you to come to Israel. I'm going in June.
I'm
You
not going.
come with me?
No.
Why?
I don't want to.
Because what are you, serious?
Yeah.
How long are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there. You're welcome to come too.
How
I'm
long
going
are
to
you
be there
gonna
for 2 to 3 weeks.
You want
I
to come to
wanna go.
West Virginia with me?
I'll come to West Virginia.
All right.
I bet you. Listen, I bet you you'll see more hate in West Virginia than you see in Israel.
I doubt it.
Nah, nobody's like that anymore. It's like
Dude, as
saying
long
a
as you don't
majority
fuck,
of,
as long as you
but
don't
it's like
fuck with their
comparing-
opiate supply, you're
it's
fine.
like comparing the white populace of the United States now
Mhm.
and calling them as racist as the 1963 Mississippi people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But what if I told you that the 1963 Klan was able to institute schooling and literally have 25 years of unfettered teaching to these kids, more 57 years, but really 20 in Gaza. It's just been no checks. And you've created this culture from the bottom up of this hate and this mentality. And you literally think it's like me teaching you fire won't burn you now after all these years. You're like, I know what the fuck fire does. Fire burns you. I've been taught all my life. I've been seeing it all my life. They killed my brother. They killed my cousin. They did this. I mean, it's tough, man. This is a tough, almost impossible situation.
I agree. But
It's very simple.
But that has
And
to
that
be
is
taken
that
into consideration.
and that is that the Arabs, the Muslims refuse to live peacefully alongside the Jews.
I agree.
That's
That
simple.
is the primary
Yes.
problem. All right. There are secondary problems.
Of course,
All
there
right.
are.
There's more than
Everything
secondary problems.
falls from there, though.
Yeah, because everything falls apart when you lose trust. When one side, listen, if it's like me telling you, hey, will you sit across the table with Mohammed Atta? You're like, no, fuck no. I'm going to chuck my drink at him if I get near him, right? Like,
You want to represent them?
no. I mean, would I represent him?
Yeah.
No, I would not want to. But
I
if
wouldn't
I
want to
had to as a
either.
defense
Yeah.
attorney, of course we all could. But
Yeah.
that's a different question. The point is, like, you have to really, to get to the bottom and solve this, the starting point has to be this issue.
Yeah.
This has to be if you can agree on this issue, then I can debate you on, and I can take it. Baruch Goldstein was a fucking lunatic. He was crazy and he did stupid shit. I don't condone that, and I agree that's wrong. But like, if you're not willing to
You have
say,
to fix the hate.
you have to
If you
fix the
fix the-
hate
if you
because
fix the
everything
hate-
stems from that
Yes.
hate. The foundations are built on hate,
Yes.
Okay.
and the
And-
Arab
and-
world
and-
seems to be doing it.
And the blockades and the checkpoints
Right.
and the occupation
All because
is
of the
all
hate.
as a result of the violence.
Right.
All right.
Not a precipitator.
And
Right.
this was something I mentioned a while ago, is that when you strip a society down to where they have nothing left, the last thing to go is God's on our side. And
Yeah, but
so,
there's been moments where they give them clothes. When you're using the analogy of stripping, they've
Okay.
given them things and say here, but they're not ready for it. How do you deal with that when they say we don't want it?
Because the things aren't what they want. That's the
Right.
whole point.
Okay.
They want that they don't care about the things. They don't have the same Western idea of comfort.
but
right?
when you
they only care about eliminating the infidel. They
But
don't
when you
care
go
about
ahead and you have
going shopping
settlements,
at the mall.
when you have settlements
Okay, well, the settlements.
that divert the water resources, all right, from the olive trees or whatever, and all the water goes to the settlements, and then the guys in the who are farming olives or whatever have to take off and move out of their land, or when you have settlers that come in and just dispossess people of their land, they might say they have to buy it, but it's like, here's your.
They're just not leaving. They're staying. They just want to stay in this area that's been considered now the Arabs, like, this is our area now. That's not what's happening. And look, the settlements, they're definitely inflaming the situation for sure. I don't know that I would necessarily defend it right now, but you have a group of people that say, hey, all of this, when they've through history and experience have learned that all of the bullshit they're complaining about, it's one thing after the next thing, and it's really the hate. At some point, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. You hate me. You want to kill me. I'm going to do what I need to do it. And that's what the small faction does.
Okay, and if the
so that then you can then go say that they're just trying to take things. I promise you that if the settlers, I wouldn't say that because I can't speak for them, but if people could see that they really had a partner for peace, it would be a very, 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 very different situation on many fronts.
Okay, but if the settlements are inflaming the situation, stop.
Yeah, but they stop a lot of them.
All right, they stop a lot. They don't stop.
Well, stopping it's political. There's people, they did. What happened in Gaza when they pulled all the people out? They stopped. They took them all out.
All 10 of them that lived in Gaza.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The
There was
Gaza
a
had
whole,
like 3
there was a whole,
settlements.
that's absolutely, but there was a whole city there.
Yeah.
They-
It was the
They
settlements are
ripped
mostly
them.
West
Mike,
Bank.
go back and watch the videos. The military came in and ripped families out of their house.
Correct.
A
Lunatics.
lot of families.
Anybody who
They
lived there was a lunatic.
no, they didn't. They lived there for a long, long time.
And then they proceeded to burn the buildings
They didn't
down.
burn the
They
building. That's
burned the
bullshit.
buildings
Do your
down.
history.
Are
Who
you
burned the
kidding?
building? They burned the
Okay,
building.
that's where we draw the
The-
line. That is factually
The
inaccurate.
settlers burned
To the listeners and
buildings
viewers, that is
down.
absolutely
It's
not true.
not
Do
true.
your own research.
The Arabs
The
burned
Please
Arabs
do your
burned
own
it.
research.
The Arabs burned
They
it.
burned all the
Saying they don't
greenhouses.
want
They burned
anything
the-
from the
crap, they burned
Jews.
a
They
greenhouse.
destroyed no,
Oh,
we're
that's
not talking
okay.
about a
The
greenhouse
greenhouse that
on
was
the
given you
corner.
for
We're talking
economics.
about an entire agricultural industry that they destroyed.
And the
because it was
settlers
Jewish.
destroyed the houses so the Palestinians couldn't have them.
That's absolutely not true.
That's absolutely
It's
true.
absolutely not true. We could do this all day. I wish I could do research on the podcast right now to show you it's
You
not
probably think 750 Palestinian citizens were forcibly removed from their condos on the beach in Tel Aviv in 1948, don't you?
I've never heard
true.
of
There
that.
was no condos in 1948. It was barren Tel Aviv.
You probably think
You know that,
that the
right?
Jews just arrived on 747s all at once and just,
No,
walked
I
up
mean,
to
they're-
the
they're
third
always-
floor.
The Jews never fully left the area.
Listen, here's Mike's thing. I'm going to tell you. I'm breaking Mike down. We'll do a psychological analysis.
Well, we're doing a show. He has to be
I know.
we
No,
need a
I
counterpoint.
love Mike. He's like my brother. Here's my brother.
I know.
He is not anti-Semitic in any way. All right. He mistrusts the Israeli government and the military
That's okay.
because his father was in the military, high up, very amazing dude.
Yep.
And there was an issue. This was the whole Beirut thing. This is where like the U.S. and all that, the USS
Yeah.
that got hit.
Yeah.
He's got a little mistrust and resentment, and that I understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of his strive. He tends to like, let me see what the fuck they're doing wrong,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
look, but that's fair.
Well,
and
you
that's
know,
how. Am I right there?
and I think
It comes a lot from that.
and
Alright.
I think a lot of it. We're running out of
I'm
time.
sorry
but
to try to give you an analysis.
I think a
but
lot
mean,
of this too is like other people try to put Jews and Israel in a particular box, right? So in other words, Jews aren't allowed to fight back. Jews aren't allowed to defend themselves.
that.
Jews aren't allowed to be offensive, right? And
Mike doesn't think that. He thinks everybody should fight back. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Well, the
Yeah.
very first thing he said was, "We don't negotiate for our bodies."
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
We don't negotiate. In other words, right?
He knows. That's why Mike
It's
went
like-
to Israel.
The Jews, shouldn't do anything, and then you have Mike Dye going, "Well, we don't negotiate for our bodies."
Right.
Meaning we
just
fucking
go
go
fuck
score
you
the
up.
earth.
Right,
We don't
yeah.
ask questions, but
If
when
he
it comes
went
to,
to Israel, he'd come back. I'm telling you,
You
he
gotta
would
go.
be
Let's
on this
go.
side of
We
the
gotta
panel.
bring him.
He won't go.
I don't want to go.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
Come on, we gotta
I'm already
go.
circumcised. There's no point
Listen,
in
we
going.
will
Oh,
pay for
alright.
food, drinks.
Cultural
you don't even drink.
appropriation.
Yeah, I don't even drink.
That's cultural
We'll
appropriation.
pay.
Cultural appropriation.
You
Exactly.
being circumcised is cultural appropriation.
But listen, anybody have any final thoughts here? I mean, listen, what I will say real quick before I hand it over to you guys is that I genuinely hope for this. I think every Jew, Israeli, I think good Americans at their core want this to happen in
Can you
peace.
imagine like a change like that? Could you imagine if the Arabs woke up one day and said, "You know what? We want a future for our children. We don't want to fight anymore. We don't want to kill anybody anymore. Let's all figure it out." The Jews would be right on board because all we want to do is just live in peace. Leave
And
us
then-
alone.
And Israelis
Stop.
are intertwined with that culture. My mom's family are Moroccan and Libyan. Like I grew up with all the culture of the Arabs, the food, like we're intertwined. My grandparents speak Arabic. You know what I mean? Like,
so do you know whether or not you have family that were in Morocco
They
in
all are
1948 that were
all of
expelled
them
from Morocco
all of them were expelled. All
without
of
so
them.
much as a suitcase?
From Libya, Morocco. I'll end on this. So one time I told my grandfather before he passed away about 15 years ago. But yeah, his whole family from Morocco. My grandmother from Tripoli. All of them. Any Arab community. That's why they're in Israel.
Yeah.
I said to him, you're Arab. One day he came up and he goes, I'm not Arab. And he looked Arabs. He's brown. He looked like an Arabic guy.
Yeah.
I'm not Arab. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, he started laughing. He used to laugh. He would do that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm Arab. I'm not Arab. I'm
Right.
like, what do you mean? You're from Morocco. He said, yeah. I'm like, well, that's an Arabic country. So you're an Arab. He goes, well, I'm Jewish.
Right.
I go, you're Jewish? What do you mean? He goes, well, the Arabs didn't treat me like I was an Arab. I'm Jewish.
Right.
Like, that's how, like, bad they were deemed me. You know what I mean?
That's
You
right.
understand? They were treated in
Of
you
course.
had lost all. So,
Not always, but always a dhimmi.
right.
So in other words,
And Morocco was a little better
the
than some of
Muslims
the other
treated the
places.
Jews throughout history better than the Christians did.
But you're talking about the ancient
But
Christians. Yeah.
well, but
They didn't treat, the
Mm,
Muslims
I
didn't
don't
treat
know
us that
about
well
that.
either.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
of course.
No,
but
like,
yeah.
listen, there's a path. There's a path there. It would take a lot of change, but I hope that it can happen. I mistrust the hell out of Hamas for good reason, and
there's just so much potential. I mean, look at the Emirates, right? Look at
look
those
what they're
countries.
doing. Saudi Arabia's coming around.
That's what I mean. Like the benefit to peace is exponential. It's amazing. It would be a dream come true
Right.
if everybody could just figure it out over there.
Well, hopefully we see it. But anybody have last thoughts, or we're good?
I'm good.
You're
Yeah.
good, Lloyd.
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on again. We'll be back on again.
You're welcome.
I admire you. You get double teamed.
No, we
on
need
here,
you.
know?
Yeah, of
we
course.
need you. We need you on that wall.
I'm used to three-ways, dude.
You need to be on the.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Jesus
we need
Christ.
we need another.
I
soul.
challenge you to come to Israel with me. I really would love for you to come. Dude, first of all, it's an incredible, like, you see so much Christian history, just history. The history is incredible over there. So
I'm single now. If I'm going anywhere, I'm going to Thailand.
the girls in Israel.
You may
Maybe
not
I'll
come
send you
back.
some. I'll send you some videos of some girls in Israel, and maybe you'll come over there.
All right.
All right, but thank you guys for coming on. Thank you to all the listeners and viewers. Thank you for watching Two Taps and Friends, listening to Two Taps and Friends. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I say, if you like, subscribe to the channel. It gives us more outreach. We're able to bring more guests on and bring a lot more information to you. You can find us on YouTube, on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, podcast. We're everywhere. Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for listening. We love you all. We'll see you next time. Cut.